Hello all, Seriously is here, back for some more No Man's Sky tips and tricks, and today what we're going to talk about is what I like to do for my own personal endgame character exosuit layout. If we go into our tab here and look at our tech layout here, I have almost all. I could buy this row fully out, but I don't need that much space. I don't need as much space as I've already bought. I have a lot of space in my technology here, and this is how I like to set up pretty much all of my saves at endgame with minor variations. These don't all need to be very specifically arranged, to be honest. In fact, I only have S-class life support, not X, because the X-class ones don't roll significantly higher, and these are things that I don't specifically care about. We'll go over each of the things, and hey, we're on life support. We may as well talk about what these each do, why you want them, and why I don't care too much about life support. Having adjacency bonuses, having extra X-class modules over S. So solar power and life support tanks. I think life support tanks is probably the better one here. Solar power is something that I don't fully understand, but it doesn't do a lot. I think what it does is charge your life support during the day, but I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't seem to do a lot. It doesn't charge it up fully. Life support is no, we want to recharge. Where's recharge? There we go. This one here, I'm at 57%. We can use oxygen, we can use life support gels, we can use dioxide in a pretty cheap quantity. I'll fill that up. But what we're going to test first, if we skip over from life support, is hazard protection. Oh, okay. We're going to have to wait for another storm. These storms don't last too long. It is an extreme planet, so we'll do that later. I do want to test our X-class modules for storm protection today as well, but we'll get to them. So life support tanks is that the more life support tanks you have, the longer it takes to empty that bar, the more it'll take to fill it, but the longer it'll take to empty. So life support tanks are pretty good, and as you can see, we did get 20% better ones there, but not 20% better than this S-class. S and X are very close in maximums, and I don't care too much about that life support tank. I'll get dioxide or I'll get oxygen. Jetpacks. I definitely recommend getting X-class modules and rolling them for high stat bonuses for X-class. You can get some really good recharge rates and tank capacities here. 40% recharge rate is huge. Recharge rate is for how fast your jetpack, after you end it, after it's emptied, how fast it'll recharge to full. So we're just gonna hopefully not take too much damage here. Empty it out. There we go. Empty. And full. Couple of seconds for my characters, because that's something I focus on my module rerolls. You don't always get any recharge rate on these modules. S or X class won't get you recharge rate every time. You got to look for it. And I will favor recharge rate over jetpack tanks, which is a huge bonus to how long they last. That's how long it took to empty them when we were just testing it just now. I use a super slot. I guess we can go over the super slots here. This module here is also a 40% recharge rate. Sprint recovery time is the exact same thing as recharge rate, but for running. I actually prefer sprint distance over sprint recovery time, because sprint distance is not something you get innately. You get jetpack tanks innately, and getting a good bonus to your jetpack tanks is not that good of a bonus. Like, instead of 200%, we got 232. We would have got 200% on the worst possible S-class module. So we're only getting a 32% bonus, but recharge rate for that tank or sprint distance are not on the module innately, so a 40% recharge rate is huge. Similarly, a 52% sprint distance is huge. I can run 50% farther than normal because of this one module here. Also happens to have recharge rate. I think this character is due for some re-rolling because while 40% is huge, and I think the maximum for X-class modules, these two don't have sprint distance, so I can't run very far, even if I can recharge that sprint time quickly. That's not as important as distance, in my opinion. You want sprint distance when you can't use your jetpack, so on space stations or anomalies. And you can use your jetpack on space station or the anomaly, but you can't do melee boost and get up to super speeds, right? So that's why you would want sprint distance, for the ability to run long amounts of time. Alright, back into the module here. We gone over that. We get 3 super slots in an exosuit. It's not S-class. Apparently we all have A-class exosuits, but in a starship you get 4 if it's S-class. If in a multi-tool you get 4 if it's S-class. I can't remember how many super slots the Exocraft get. I don't often build out the Exocraft. But we only get 3. We get 1 here in your second last slot in the second row, so you can try to remember it that way. The second row is the second last slot. The first row, I think we start with that on pretty much all characters, but it's your 5th one right in the middle. It should start unlocked on a new character, I think. And the third one is the third one in the third row. That's pretty easy to remember. So super slot here, super slot. So 5, 9, 3, if you want to remember the numbers of how far they are, but I like 2 from the left, 2 from the right for the second one, 3 from the left for the third one, and the 5th one I think we start with, sorry, the first one in the 5th slot I think we start with, so you don't have to remember that one. But when you're unlocking slots, this one and this one are good to get early on. But for endgame, this is the layout I like. And I guess the last thing to talk about here is our hazard protection. Now we can waste a little bit more time with our bonus modules. And these bonus modules here are the only reason I get slots beyond the first set of rows here. This is more than enough. This layout that I have here with those slots showing will get you through anything. But there's extra modules, you know, there's a hazmat gauntlet, there's an oxygen rerouter, which is just for breathing underwater better, and it does not stack with life support or hazard protection, so you can keep it separate. I like to keep the refiner on the main page so I don't have to scroll for it or look for it. It's always available. Hazmat gauntlets, you don't need to actually actively use them. They can go anywhere. They don't stack with anything. Doesn't really matter where they go or what they're doing, just as long as you have them so you can pick stuff up. But these modules get adjacency bonuses, and they give good bonuses. We get shield modules, which we haven't talked about yet. We talked about life support, but we haven't talked about shield. These are the default shields, but in X class instead of S class. And I like to get these because you get similar but more frequent high-end shields on these for some reason. I don't think the stats are significantly greater. I've seen S-class shield modules with 33% shield strength, so this is nothing to write home about here. These X-class ones, these could be S, but those are your default shield modules and core health modules. Core health is for those little pluses up on the top left corner there. Shield is the bar above it, and if we go and take some fall damage, we'll see I took a little teeny amount of damage there in that bar. Take a lot more for a fall from orbit, but we have enough shields here to deal with that. So the reason that I have all of these bonus modules down here with the shields is that they give adjacency bonuses to the shields, and they each provide shields as well. So our shields are super duper boosted. Sprint distance you can get on these ones here. These modules are from the Autophage. You buy them at Autophage terminals and you open them up and install them and get random stats. They are identical to these ones here from Salvaged glass. Is that what it's called? Do I have any lying around? I don't have any lying around on this save. No. unfortunately. Here we go. Salvaged glass. You get these from blowing up corrupt sentinels. And they open up and occasionally give you these modules here that you can install. They also give you modules for your multi-tool, but those modules only do bolt caster upgrades. They don't do any other weapon upgrades. These are Exosuit upgrades, and they cover a wide variety of things at the same time. Sprint distance and shields at the same time. Oh, that's good. Thank you, Sue Lady. Shield and sprint distance again. So it looks like I've re-rolled these ones to get my sprint distance, and I don't need to re-roll my movement modules for sprint distance. But these ones and these ones stack with each other and are identical. If you're re-rolling your modules and you say, oh, 53% sprint distance is good, but instead of a Sentinel one, let's see what I get when I install an Autophage one, it will be the exact same stats. 69% solar panel, 53% sprint distance, all the exact same. So these share a seed, but they stack with each other. So you can get 6 of these modules to boost your sprint distance, your shields, anything you want that they can possibly give. I don't think they give jetpack tanks or recharge rate, but they give a lot of other good stuff. So sprint distance and shields are what I look for in these. And now that we have a storm going, it's an extreme storm, I have shields going. That's what your S-class modules are. They take batteries and fill up, and when they're empty, then you will start taking damage. But if we look through our visor, on the lower left corner there, it'll say critical exposure in 239, and that's how long it'll take for you to take damage on your shields, up in the top left corner there, from a storm or hot environment that's too hazardous for your health, after the shields are done. So that red bar underneath my shield bar in the lower left corner, excuse me, we've got the icon half full of shield running out in the storm. When that runs out, the red bar will take 2 minutes and 39 to deplete and take damage from. So that's what I'm trying to measure right now. Let's change some stuff around real quick. I'm going to move, oh no, not that one yet. Let's move this one out of the super slot and move this one into a super slot and see if that changes. Yeah, it did change, 251 from 239. So we can modify that a bit better, but it's not an unlimited amount, which we're going to get to now. Let's go inside. Just get out of the storm. There we go. We have plenty of hazard protection to outlast this storm. It's no problem, but it's a bit less noisy. All right, so we've covered those. Let's cover the hazard protection and what I'm using here. I recommend always using X-class hazard protection modules, mainly because there are no other hazard protection modules. You can't get C through S-class modules for these. And they give very low bonuses, but they give them to all of your protections. So all 4 types of resistance on every X-class module, even a very bad roll will give you 2 or 3% to these things, which is fine. And if you put a 2 or 3% module into a supercharged slot, this one here has some 9s, so it's not as good as the other one. Even a 2 or 3% module up here will end up having 30% or more when you put it in a supercharged slot. And that's what's giving me the really long wait for hazard protection after the shield runs out. So I like putting 2 X-class modules in hazard protection, getting all of the adjacency bonuses to work together for our various hazard protection modules, and keeping them together because that looks nice. We also have water breathing modules. You don't need 2, 1 is enough. You can install up to 3 if you're really worried about running out of oxygen, but you need to be able to charge these, so it's really the oxygen you're carrying that's the problem, not how many modules you have. You can charge them underwater. Sometimes there's a bug in the game where you have to actually come into your inventory and charge them manually, like dragging oxygen, like that. But I find that's not that big of a deal, and that's why I have more than 1, just in case that bug happens. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we really need to talk about. We can go over each of the things before we go today and decide what they are and where you get them. So X-Class modules for anything you want to get upgraded. Pirate space stations, best place to get them by far. Various merchants sell them directly. You could get a hazard protection module for sale directly, but you can also get them from suspicious packets, which are for sale in pirate space stations as well. So that's a good place to get X-Class modules, pirate space stations. Blueprints, get them on the Space Anomaly. That's a blueprint. You don't need to buy that anywhere. It's a C-Class, but it's a blueprint. You build it. These are S-Class modules. You get them on regular space stations. Similarly, that is an S-Class module. Get that on a regular space station. Blueprint, oxygen recycler. Blueprint, oxygen rerouter. Get these on the Anomaly. Blueprint, hazmat gauntlets. Jetpack stuff. Ooh, excuse me, very dry here today as I'm recording. A lot of frogs and throats. Neural simulator, rocket boots, airburst engine, the jetpack itself, you start with that. And efficient water jets, those are all blueprints from the Anomaly, so those are not ones you need to buy. And that's just how I like to arrange them for maximum adjacency bonuses. If you see this bar around your modules, that when they're touching each other, that means they're getting a small bonus. I think it's up to 6% if I'm not mistaken, but it's small, but it's good. It's good to keep them together. It gives you a little bit more bonus, and well, I think that's about it. I think we've covered everything I like to consider for an endgame character's exosuit layout today. So that was it for today. Until next time, have a good time.